Hey everybody, Neil Thompson from Teach the Geek here. Hope you're having a great day. This is going to be another short episode. What I want to talk about is the use of jargon when giving presentations. I can remember back when I worked in engineering and product development, I had to give these presentations in front of senior management. Perhaps I've mentioned this before. And a lot of the people in the audience didn't necessarily have technical backgrounds. I think the background of the CEO was sales. We also had the VP of marketing that was there. Obviously, her background was marketing. Maybe the VP of operations had a technical background, but I don't recall. Anyway, a lot of people didn't. And yet, here I was getting on the stage or in front of them and using a whole bunch of technical jargon that perhaps they didn't understand. Well, I think you can think about what the outcome of that was. Not very good on my behalf. What ended up happening is I'd often get questions after the presentation that I thought I had answered during the presentation, but because I was using all these words that perhaps they didn't understand, they didn't get what I was talking about during the presentation, which essentially was a waste of time for myself and for them, just a waste of time altogether. What would have made more sense for me to do was to use terms or words that were more common, maybe eliminate or try to eliminate, minimize the technical jargon. So, for instance, when I worked in product development, I worked in the orthobiologics group. Now, if you are familiar with spinal implants at all, if you have a bulging disc, for instance, an orthopedic surgeon will remove it, and then they'll replace that disc with an implant, and that implant can potentially be made out of cadaver bone. So I worked on making or designing implants made out of cadaver bone. Bone is actually made up of, well, one of the cells that bone is made up of is osteoblasts. And then there are also osteoclasts. So osteoblasts are bone forming cells, and osteoclasts are bone resorbing or bone eating cells. I could use those terms, bone forming cells and bone resorbing or bone eating cells, as opposed to osteoblasts and osteoclasts. As you can see, osteoblasts and osteoclasts kind of sound alike. And if you don't really know the terminology, you might mix them up. But bone forming and bone eating, you're not really going to mix up. So if I use those terms instead, perhaps the people in the audience that don't necessarily come from an orthobiologics background can be better able to understand the presentation. So there's a term, that's a tip that I have when it comes to giving presentations, especially if you have this technical expertise that perhaps your audience doesn't. Try to avoid the technical jargon and use more common words. So that's what I have for today. Also, remember the Teach the Geek to Speak Society is out there. You can join it at any time. You get access to the course Teach the Geek to Speak, and also you get access to an online community as well as monthly group calls. It's really helpful in providing ongoing support in your public speaking journey. And to learn more about that, you can go to teachthegeek.com. Again, thanks for listening, and check you all out next time.